Okay, well, welcome. Anyway, I'm going to start off with the hardest poems for me to read so I can get them done. This is from a chapbook that I'm working on. It's dedicated to my wife, and it's called tentatively, "Your Absence Saddens Even the River." If I get through these three, then it's clear sailing after that. No one can see you. The moon ghosts its way through the afternoon. The air folds and drops its secrets, a swirl of invisible skirts. Once there was a boy throwing baseballs, the strike zone clearly marked. Is it always so? You are in the hospital again and no one can see you. Apparently we can reach the other side, as they call it, without going anywhere. I am contemplating asparagus, going wild at the river's mouth. You are walking through the marsh grass, breaking off young spears. We are both laughing. And I am back in the field again, weeding, the rows of tomatoes always longer than I think. You came back from the kayak trip, where your gloves stopped, your wrists were sunburnt, wrists so red like you've been scalded, still tasting of salt. When you get there, will we be on the same side? Will we recognize each other? Will the darkness be eternal just for us? The ringing in my ears at night. A dog barks. The magic of fireflies. Bats are jagged pieces of cloth. The ringing is all about possibility. I thought we would grow old together. We already have, you said. You are in the hospital again and no one can see you. Our daughters think I should see a therapist. In the warm fur of dreams, shadows drop at my feet. Your absence, the thread so fine, the needle so deep. That was close. So I might attempt this one, which I was contemplating skipping. This is called, "It Just Takes Time," so everyone says. But how long is the sentence? Is it hard time or minimum security? House arrest? Do I get off for good behavior? What is good behavior? Have another drink and think about that. Mark another day off the calendar, but for how long? Do I write one poem of grief, 100 poems, 200 poems? Why would that make it go away? If I stop grieving, will I forget you? Too many questions. Sometimes I sit on your bench by the Solom River. There's a vase with fresh flowers wedged into a Douglas fir stump. Let the river wash away the sorrow like it did some of your ashes. I thought we still had lots of time. I might skip the next one. Anyway, and this tentatively is the last one in the perspective chapbook. To go on this journey, you must take the basket of dreams you woke with. You must take the jar of little white lies you hold so dear. You must take the hands you hold, yours and everyone else's. You must take a moment to remember. Take as many moments as you need. You must take a moment to forget. Only one, and make it quick. You must let your feet go wherever they take you into another life. The rest is clear sailing. Anyway. Okay, the next poem I'm going to read is a series for my father, which used to be called Father Series. And as soon as I changed the title, it got accepted for publication. So I don't know. So now it's called From Jakova, Croatia. I think it was a Polish guy that accepted it, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the freighter Sharda, flying the Hungarian flag, owned by a man named Craggs, London, sailed into Boston May 7th, 1937, pumps working overtime to keep her afloat. My father told me, I jumped ship in Boston. Joseph, a sailor from Dalmatia, poked his head in. Steve, there's a crack in the hull. I left my mandolin on board. I never knew you played mandolin. The gulf between us almost swallows me. I go outside, look at the moon coming into first quarter. Dark clouds cluster around it. The distance, the perspective dizzies me. Two lost men, father, son, the silence, the unknowing, somehow tongue-tied together. For 10 years after I jumped ship, whenever I heard a whistle, even a train whistle, all I could do to stay put. An illegal alien from Croatia marries a German, Emilia, just before World War II. Great timing. The courtroom, the miracle of wife and kids, the machinist job in the war factory saved him from deportation. Years later, I worked on a construction crew with Kelly, ex-sheriff, knew my dad back when. One day after work in the Old Timers Tavern, I shouldn't tell you this, he said, the rolling rock loosening his brain. When I was sheriff, back when your dad was, he pauses, gauging his own shrinking distance from the abyss, was a drunk. Before they put him, I saw him one night rip a fucking bar stool right out of the floor. He was hell to manage sometimes. Before they put him away, I say to myself, finishing his dangling sentence, before they put him away for 2 years, mental institute, violent drunk, just like you said, Kelly. Before they fried his brain, crazy, jealous over nothing more than his own fantasies, angry, ripping bar stools, hell to manage. Finally, tool and die maker with Philco. 10 years before Ford took over, changed it into a production shop, go, go, go. They gave him machinist rate, wouldn't classify him tool and die maker, double hernia under his belt, a lifetime of turning lathes, spiral metal filings tracked into the living room, 4 children, near retirement at $2.98 an hour. Top-notch tradesman, so the story goes, used to make special tools to service engineers' dreams. But that was before Ford took over Philco and changed it into a production shop. Go, 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 double hernia. Go, 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 $2.98. Go, go, go. Only son, my job was to go get him. Down to some police station in Philadelphia, drunk, he turned wrong way onto the Roosevelt Boulevard. The crush of one-way headlights bearing down must have seemed like the whole world was against him. He sat sheepishly on a wooden chair, an immigrant in baggy pants. One time, finally home, he tried to go again. In the hysteria of the moment, the Doberman pinchers squared off. Stop him. I slipped up from behind, put him in a full Nelson. His thick-tongued surprise, reciting a litany of swear words gleaned from 100 ports. Surprised at the bunch strength in his neck. Compressed years of bitterness and hard work. If it weren't for the booze, I could feel my knees weaken. The next day, expecting him to beat the shit out of me, but he never did. Pennypack Creek. Dad liked to fish the floods for eel. Like him, they'd been to sea. Fishing for eel makes sea monsters possible. They strike hard, savagely hook themselves, beat the water to a froth, writhe them to knots, bring fear straight from the Garden of Eden, secrete slime and bite. You have to meet their frenzy with yours, beat their heads with clubs. Sometimes a machete flashes a silver death. The jaws still work desperately. The body coils back into its final knot, lets its electric frenzy out for days, twitching and squirming in the frying pan. Mother never would cook them, slipped round discs of white cardboard into his sandwiches for revenge. I can still remember that. The time, pissed drunk, he sat on the bed and pissed in his shoe. What was he thinking? Perhaps he was standing on the edge of rock, his tumbled down dream shack behind him, pissing into the breakers, thinking of the mysterious life of eels. The creek is naked now. The trees gone, the strip along the pike zoned industrial, no place to roam. Our goats, it never bothered him, they ate everything in sight, killed after I lost my allergy. The eels, I don't know about the eels. And now with the cold in his back, he's thinking of going to Florida. I know he's not going anywhere. He punched into a faceless factory, punched out years later a lost man, mumbling at his shoes, tall grass, he never mows. He hated the locked door of the Alzheimer's ward. In his 99th year, he fell asleep, dreaming perhaps of his shack by the endless sea. For a short while, the fingernails grow. In my father's case, I'm betting the bushy eyebrows grew too. My sister sent me a box of clothes. Maybe you can use these on the farm. My inheritance. Shirts with my father's name on them. Long sleeve shirts, too small for me now. Shirts with his name, same as mine. I wore them out working in the field. My heart beating under them, as did his. I used to have a problem with that. So now there's some tree planters here. At least one old tree planter. If there's any young tree planters here, I wouldn't recognize them. Anyway, so this poem actually was the poem that was mentioned earlier. And I did change the ending. So this is called Area 63, Moresby Island, now Guayhanas. The top ridge is covered with standing timber, too scrawny, too steep, too far from that last setting to log, looking like a mohawk haircut, a highway for deer, bear, home for near extinct mosses, haven for peregrine falcon. The side hill, a mass of stumps, sharp busted up limbs, grades down through several switchback logging roads to Sewell Inlet, thick Pacific fog below us. The steep hump of Louise Island, so close, I thought only a river lay beneath that white foam blanket. The brooding shoulders of Talunquin Island and the Tangiel, descending peaks, Tanu, Kunga, and those jagged rocks in the distance, the Lost Islands, the summit of Lost Mountain, no doubt, beyond which nothing is found, only the mainland. The morning is cool, our breaths damp, annoying white threads as we breathe. Coughing creates staccato clouds, soon sucked into the pervasive moisture. The land drips even when the sky doesn't. We're climbing before the sun hoists its blast over Talunquin, and halfway to the timber, someone yells, "Here comes the sun," to an old Beatles tune. We all stop, some hung over brush, arms spread like scarecrows, some caught twisted between trees dangling on a caulk boot, looking like machines run out of gas, like rag dolls suddenly collapsed. In this country which seems to know no sun, the sun announces its arrival on rainbow runners, great circles of blue and red throbbing around the hot gold core. The fog heated rushes uphill, millions of tiny water prisms catch the light in waves. There's absolutely no question in anybody's mind who's running this energy show. Jerked back into gear by a rising tide of responsibility or stupidity or some perverse survival instinct, we move on, working, reforesting the manged slope, while below us the topsoil bleeds brown into the inlet. I was going to read this. Oh, that bribe didn't work. I'll read it anyway. This is another work poem. This is a surveying poem. It's called The Crew. The Crookshank Canyon doesn't want to be surveyed. Most of the lower half already logged, so very few people want it to be surveyed. Someone, however, never mind the rigmarole, the E&N land grant, the question of clear title, someone needs it surveyed. Someone does. We are the chosen ones. When we're lucky, we've got game trails. When we're not, we've got ourselves armed with machetes, axes, and the desire to get from here to there. Never mind, Ian, if you'd stayed in the supermarket, you'd have your own aisle by now. Produce, maybe. Toilet paper or Pampers. The box is big and light. A good aisle. Nothing like produce, though. Nothing like hauling the rock drill called Pico an industrial term suggesting small and light, only at sea level in the truck. 2 cycle assault on all our senses. And the mountain is rock. The mountain is more than rock, but rock is enough. It's not timeless, it only hints strongly. It is slow to become dust, even as a thin swirl hammers out of the drill hole. There's the odd ghost out here. These mountains eat men. Even as we lean on the rock drill, we are turning to dust. And somebody else isn't here either. So I have a couple of poems, invisible poems. You get to see that side. That's the invisible poem. I have actually 4 of them, and I never read 3 and 4. I only read 1 as an intro to 2. So, invisible 1. At work, Ross and I joke about being invisible. Something to do with age. Sometimes even our vehicle, invisible to others, pull out as if we weren't there. When I pass the faces in the windows and no eyes move, I know it must be true. Invisible too. Not easy being invisible. At first you think, this is cool. No one knows I'm here. Of course, you have to be careful in traffic. Lineups can be awkward. Speaking, always. Eventually, you reach out to touch somebody. This can become very disconcerting. Finally, you stop doing that. Sometimes, someone hears something or thinks they do. Possibly you've done this yourself. It's like you hear or feel a breath close by, turn around, and no one's there. Not easy being invisible. No. So, I'm reading this one because someone who actually is here has an earlier version of this. She probably hates me for changing it. That's up in her office. This one's called To My Brother in New York City. I send you fresh air. I send you a campfire in a casual circle of rock, Orion a-leaping out of the trees. I send you a round stone worn dumb by the river's touch. I send you the river, the red-headed merganser and the dark torpedoes of steelhead. Piece of the mountain I hold in my hand, quartz crystal caves, eyes of pyrite. I send you the crunch of frozen grass. The winter we spent in the loft, playing guitar, throwing paint at the cardboard wall. Send me the remnants of your marriage, the dark divorce, the long runs in Central Park, the whiskey evenings, and I will send you fresh despair, which seems to be everywhere. Okay, now this bride paid off. This is a poem called Horsetail, and it's about a weed. It's not about a horse's tail. It's actually called Horsetail Equisetum Arvens, and the horsetail is addressing me. Fool. You worked so hard to eradicate me, turning over every bit of soil, spade deep, but my roots go down 6 feet. Every few feet along the bed, another bucket of my roots. So good luck. Digging invigorates me. My relatives around a lot longer than yours, 350 million years, saw the dinosaurs come and go. And here you are, swearing, straining your back, picking the worms away from my roots. You really should drink some of my tea. Reduce anxiety and stress. Calm your mind. But as a gardener, you seem determined never to learn. Others of your species, including ancient, not compared to me, of course, Romans and Greeks, discovered many things I'm good for. Skin and nail care, tuberculosis, varicose veins, kidney problems, strengthened bones and teeth, good for hair regrowth, improves blood circulation, a detoxifier, improve vascular integrity. Perhaps a dose of silica will firm up that appendage of which the male of your species is so incredibly fond. We'd both be happier if you just stopped. And boy, I think I'm going to read the Cuban poems anyway, even though Rubio's not here. Huh. Anyway, so the first one is, it's called How I Got My Nickname, and it has an epigraph. 1981, the three amigos, a.k.a. gringos, all got nicknames among the Cubans, Viejo, Rubio, and... In Cuba, I went in search of a washing machine, bundle of clothes under my arm. Around the back of the building, women were hand-washing clothes in a large tub of water. Attempting to copy them, I found a spot at the end and started sloshing my shirts and underwear. Amid laughter and no common language, they showed me how to rub a nub of hard soap into the tough spots. Sweat stains under the armpits, ring around the collar, pecker tracks, and possibly skid marks in the underwear. I can still feel the joy in our laughter. How I got the nickname I still somewhat cherish. Whenever they saw me laugh and wave, "Buenos dias, loco." So there was Viejo, Rubio, and Loco. Viejo, the Cubans absolutely revered him. And so that's why we were so accepted. And I even went to a Cuban party with Viejo and had to dance because he couldn't dance. And oh my God, it went on and on. It was quite a thing. Anyway, this one is set in Cuba. It's called Sexiest Word in the English Language. In a shop in Cuba, two women, the younger one struggling to learn English from a book. "Whose shirt is this?" The other woman asked if I knew English, could help. Sure. Must be difficult to know how to pronounce W-H-O-S-E if your only language is Spanish, like Jose. Pucker your lips. Forward like a kiss. Say, whose? Whose? She looked directly at my mouth to imitate the shape. Hers so beautifully puckered. Eventually, our lips were centimeters apart. Whose? Breathing in each other's breath, looking in each other's eyes, thought I might learn something Cuban. Suddenly, the other woman clapped and laughed, shocked the moment. Whose shirt is this? I'm only going to read a couple more. The other ones, otherwise I'd have to do one of those warnings. What was it? I'm not going to read those. What is it? A trigger warning? Yeah. So, because we're so close to Valentine's, I have got to read this one. It's called Cry Me a Cockroach. And it has an epigraph. On Valentine's Day, zoos swap romance for revenge. Washington Post, February 14, 2023. More than one approach to Valentine's. The traditional, and then the bittersweet chocolate of revenge. At the Bronx Zoo, name a roach for your Valentine because roaches are forever. The Salisbury Zoo in Maryland, Chomp Your Ex fundraiser. Receive a personalized video, an animal of your choosing, eating an insect named after your ex. Robert, here's a kiss goodbye from an American bullfrog. At the San Antonio Zoo, upgrade your donation to $150. They'll do a voiceover, send a crunching feeding video straight to your ex from brutal Texas. Emily, from Mike, a goodbye embrace from a Brooks King snake. Not to be outdone, snake discovery in Minnesota posts YouTube video of white mice fed to their reptiles. To Taylor, I guess I had to date a guy to find out I like girls. Taylor fed to snapping turtle, Chloe. Thanks for the emotional abuse during my childhood, made me stronger as a result. The snake's jaws open wide. I never could understand the anger toward past loves, only the cold emptiness like the air in a well. To Steve, so naive, you never understood revenge, as my namesake mouse gets fed to a large bull snake. That's my favorite Valentine. The only one I have, but you know. Anyway, This one, actually, she's still in Mexico. Someone mentioned in this one, the girl was in Mexico. Anyway, this is called the full hippie shot. Don't worry, love. Years ago, I had a local for the cartilage, but now I'm going under. Lisa, my nurse, told me, you get any grief, just ask for the full hippie shot. It's really good. I have complete confidence in Dr. Van Sittert. He'll remove ends of thigh and calf bones, renew my knee with new metallic parts, zipper me up at the end. I'm sure it was the sound of the bone saw. Then the hammering woke me. A low blue curtain at waist level obstructs my view. Probably prevents blood, bone splatter. Also easier to rinse everything off. The anesthetist asked, what are you doing awake? I'm thinking, he's the wrong person. The noise, the saw sounds, the hammering, and why am I awake? You tell me. The anesthetist, with an ice grin, gray skin, textured bags under his eyes, asked, would you like some earplugs? My eyes feather in and out of focus. Last thing I remember saying, no, just give me the full hippie shot. Anyway, that's a true story.